Good morning and welcome to Backyard and Beyond. This morning we're visiting with Bonnie Moore up at Glencoe, Minnesota. Good morning to you, Bonnie.
Good morning.
Well, when we talk about Minnesota, we always expect it to be colder and snowier than it is here. How is your snow piled up?
You are exactly right. It is cold and snowy. We have already to date about as much as December 22nd. We have about as much snow today, year to date, as we normally get for an entire winter. Yeah, and it's like we're getting snowfalls of like a foot at a time.
Yeah.
And we've had some quite cold weather, but today it's kind of a surprise. It's like up to 30. So some of that ice and stuff is melting off the roads, which is really good.
Yes, that is great because I think there's more coming. I'm sorry to say that, but I think
I think so.
Yes. Well, Bonnie, actually I have a cousin in Minnesota that sent me one of your cards, and I was hooked right away because I'm a cat fan, and it was the little child pulling the kitty on the sled.
Okay.
And then not only did they send the card, but they sent your brochure, and I'm going, oh my goodness, I just love all these things.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. It's a personal time. My dad raised Holsteins, and then like I say I'm a cat fan, and then you get some good food pictures, and I mean, it just goes on and on. And we'll talk a little more about content. But how'd you get started in all this, Bonnie?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. I grew up on a dairy farm, and I was a pretty normal farm kid, and did the 4-H and FFA and junior Holstein stuff, and really went on to school for dairy production with a minor in egg communications. But I always, since I was a child, had a fascination with art, with drawing and painting, and I was fascinated by paintings when I would see them on a wall in any home or office, and it was kind of like a magnet, and it just drew me. And so I went and just bought myself some paints, and I kind of taught myself, and I started to subscribe to art magazines and go to art shows, and just really started from scratch and taught myself. And as I got married and had a job, and we had lived in the cities for a while, like evenings and weekends, I would just continue to work at it. And what I really wanted to paint the most was cows, because that was my life growing up on a dairy farm.
Sure.
And I just felt so comfortable with it, and I guess I had some confidence because I really felt I knew cows. And so that was what I started painting. And a few years after I had been at it, my work was sort of evolving to something of substance and was looking decent, and I started showing it. And I ended up landing a job to paint a bull for Select Sires Company, an AI organization in Ohio. And at that point, I decided that was my confirmation to, jump ship with my job and give it a try, and to really see if I could pursue, becoming an artist and making a livelihood at it. And my husband was very supportive, and he said, yeah, give it a try. You'll never know if you don't try. We had no children at that point, so it seemed like sort of a why not situation, and so I did. And the rest has evolved over time from that.
Mm-hmm. Now, it says these are country note cards, and they certainly, most of them do reflect country. But you have a nice variety that would, I think, appeal to lots of people. The one I'm looking at right now in your brochure is the Bless America's Heroes, which is, I think right away it evokes a lot of feelings, which to me says that's what your good painting is about.
Mm-hmm.
You get those feelings. And I understand you also sell prints.
Right. For the first 15 to 18 years of my career, I pretty much just painted farm animals, and then started dabbling into more of a broad cross-section of rural America and other domestic animals. And then in the last 5 to 6 years, I've started to get into some inspirational art, which would include the piece you were referring to, the military piece called Bless America's Heroes. And Living Life is also an inspirational piece, which is sort of, I guess it's sort of my life statement about living a good life, and that we are we are who we are because of the choices we make and the lives that we live, and to, to stand for something good, and that, our happiness depends on what we make of ourselves every day. And it also was something I wrote to teach my children. And what I did was I stenciled it in my studio showroom. And so for about 10 years, I listened to people come in and say, "Oh my gosh, that is so great! Can I get a copy of that?" And so I was just running it off from the copy machine and handing it out to everybody who asked for it. And so finally, it occurred to me that I should do something with it, that I had something that people really loved and wanted. So I created a painting to go with it, and it's a big oak tree with a few broken branches, and the tree symbolizes each of us, and that we have roots, and that we grow, and that we too have hardship in life, and so we have some broken limbs. But that, if our foundation is good, we live on. We're still whole, we're still complete, and so, to my amazement, this piece has been my number one seller for the last probably 4 years, and then 2 years ago, I did another painting called I Do, which is a wedding piece. And that was sort of a celebration of my husband and I celebrating our 25 years of marriage. And I felt like, I really wanted to do something to commemorate that. And I felt after 25 years of making it through marriage, I felt like, wow, I think I have something to say. And so I wrote the verse to go with it. And it just shows the back section, torso section of a bride and groom standing at the altar with their hands interlocked. And it's a very simple painting with a very simple verse, but it talks about, what I felt it takes to stay married. And so, lo and behold, my mission in life was to be known as the cow lady and the cow artist, and now my inspirational art has sort of taken off as a life of its own. And I think I'm now feeling comfortable and happy and excited about it, and realize that my journey as an artist is going to be a lot more than just painting rural America. So, yeah, I think people will be surprised to see such a variety of different types of paintings, because a lot of people do think I only paint cows, but my inventory has grown to be quite a nice broad cut section of rural America, and now inspirational too.
And something I think to fit everything. I'm thinking, especially looking at the Christmas ones that are of like snowmen and children, and that would appeal to everybody, whether you live in a city or a town or on the farm. But they just evoke lots of great memories. Now, most of your cards are blank, but you have a few with verses in them, correct?
Right. I think there's probably about 30 different choices in the card lineup, and of those, maybe closer to 40. About 30 of them or so are blank, and then I've got 2 or 3 that have some verse in, like, for instance, the Living Life and the I Do have a verse in. And then I've got about 10 or 15 different Christmas cards, and they have just a real simple one line, just a very nice, heartwarming, statement, typical of a Christmas message in those.
We're visiting with Bonnie Moore from Glencoe, Minnesota, and we should tell people, a little hard to show people on the radio what we're talking about. We need to tell people how they can see what we're talking about.
Absolutely, and I'd be happy to do that. People can, contact my studio for a catalog or brochure. We'll be happy to send that out, but the quickest way would be just to go to my website, which is bonniemohr.com, and it's BONNIEMOHR, bonniemohr.com.
Yeah, great way to see what's there, and then if you want to order something, great. I think it'd be great gifts, and like I say, very inspirational. Now, we don't have much time left, but I have to quick throw in, when I looked at your website, you're not only an artist in terms of painting, you also have musical skills. Didn't I see you're a harpist?
You know what? That's the other Bonnie Mohr.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
That is a different Bonnie Mohr. Yes, yes.
Oh,
I actually have been in touch with her. I've sent her some art, and she has sent me a CD. And so that is kind of funny that you found that, because
it is.
I also found her online too, and she's a great harpist.
Well, you're talented enough as is. You don't need to be a harpist too. So it's nice you can share that with somebody else. Well, we want to thank you very much, Bonnie Moore, for visiting with us today. I've just been enthralled with your pictures here. And of course the note cards are from your paintings. So we want to thank you very much and have a
Thank
great
you.
holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Until next time, here's a thought from one of your cards that has a tree on it. It says, "May your holidays be filled with warmth and love."